Hey, my friend. We have got some stuff for July. We have got our sun moving into Cancer. We've got two retrogrades happening this month. Venus is changing signs. Mars is doing some things, my friend. This is your Sidereal Astrology Forecast for the month of July 2026. As America celebrates its 250th, we've got some things that are definitely lighting some fires here. My friend, welcome back to the channel. If we have not met, hello, my name is Danny Simonis. I am a transformational coach, inner work alchemist, and I absolutely love to help women step into being the sacred CEO of their life. That is the chief energy officer of their life. My friend, let's work on becoming the sacred CEO, the person that is directing those manifestations, that is doing that healing, and that is really stepping into your life's purpose. Okay, let's do my favorite thing. And as we do that, I have to remind you that there is two ways that you can consume this forecast. The first one is right here on the YouTube channel, The Cosmic Mystic. You can see me and you can see the beautiful charts we're going to share in just a second. And you can also listen to this baby over on the podcast, The Cosmic Mystic podcast. Same name, see it on both. You can even see it on YouTube as just the audio as well. So there's lots of ways to consume this. So let's dive in with my favorite thing to do, which is the state of the planets. That's where I tell you where everybody is as we begin this beautiful month of July. We are not looking at December 2026. So let me go to July. I was looking at our second retrograde that is coming out later this year. I'm sorry, later this month, that will be ending later this year. Okay. So as we begin our sun, we are currently about halfway through Gemini season. So our sun is still hanging out in Gemini here. We've got Uranus in Taurus, Mars in Taurus. Chiron is still hanging out in Aries, causing all those things to come up. We've got Saturn over here in Pisces, Neptune also in Pisces. These two are going to be coming back together. If you remember earlier this year, we had these guys hanging out together. They were taking a little vacate together. Well, they're going to come back, but in a little bit of a different energy. We also have our North Node in Aquarius, Pluto over here in Capricorn. Our moon does kick off this month in Capricorn. We are coming off that full moon in Sagittarius that we had on the 29th. So we're just coming off that energy here. We've also got our South Node here in Leo, Venus in Cancer, but she's going to be moving out of there. We're going to talk about her shift into Leo, what that shift means. And then we also have Jupiter over here in Cancer. So Jupiter just moved into Cancer last month, so still getting its groove through Cancer. And our sun is going to enter Cancer. Mercury has entered Cancer, but Mercury just went retrograde, my friend. We can see it right there with that red. That means it is a retrograde. So Mercury retrograde is here. Our lovely retrograde. It starts in Cancer and it's going to move back into Gemini. And so we're going to talk about that as well. So let's dive in, clear all the clutter, and see what we have going on with our sun as we kick off this month. So first off, as I mentioned, we are in Gemini season. So Gemini, there are lots and lots and lots of thoughts, lots of ideas, brainstorming. My love and I were in the car the other day and we're like, okay, let's brainstorm our next project together, our next business together. And so all these ideas were coming out. It was just so like, yes, Gemini, I love it. The other really good feeling of Gemini is all of the connections and social energy that starts to come out, even for us introverts. Yes, I do love to be around people that is a misdemeanor. what's the word? I can't find the word, but it is actually not true that introverts do not like to be around people. We love to be around people. I love people. It's just I have my cutoff and I'm done, and that is it. So Gemini season is a great time to connect, to get social, to be around others. We've got a few more weeks in that energy. And as you saw before I stopped the screen share, we do have it connected with Saturn and Neptune. So Daddy Saturn and Neptune. And these are not very friendly aspects together. They're both squares, which can be a little tension, which can cause a little friction sometimes. But Saturn has been asking this question, and I mentioned it. If you follow me over on Instagram, I mentioned it in a post I did on the full moon. And its most important question is Saturn wants to know, tell me, show me the evidence, show me the reality, show me the concrete, show me the foundation, right? Saturn is very much in that 3D energy and it wants to know, show me the receipts, tell me what is actually happening. And that is what we have here. It's been really asking us to bring into our consciousness, to be really real about what we are actually doing, not the vision that we have, because we're so good, my friend, at having that vision. We're so good with Gemini about telling the story about what we're going to do and all the things. But what are we actually doing? That's what Saturn has been asking and bringing forward for us. And so we're going to have that for just a little bit longer. The other one that we see here, which was also connected to that full moon, was Neptune. Now, Neptune, we're going to see it fall off. This is the last day it's there, but Neptune has been weakening things, really making it harder to get motivated to do things, feeling some insecurities, right? Maybe even over idealizing some things. That's really what happens when Neptune comes into play. And so that's going to shift out. We're going to open things up. So hallelujah for that. All right, let's continue on to the next one I want to show you, which comes in over here on the 9th. And that is our conjunction with Mercury. Now, Mercury, as I mentioned, is going retrograde. We'll talk about that in just a bit. But with Mercury coming back and connecting, or the sun coming up, however you want to see that, it's again, as I always say with conjunctions, it's like they're sharing a space, right? They're renting a house together, renting a room together, staying in a hotel together, an Airbnb, however you want to imagine that. And Mercury, during its retrograde, is like taking a pause, and it's asking us to review things, to reflect on things, right? To rewrite things. And the sun being a consciousness is just like, whoa, those things are coming into our reality, into what we're doing, into what we're creating. So I want you to keep that in mind as this comes in. It's going to be in Gemini, and it's looking at our conversations. It's looking at that social energy, the way that we're seeing things, the way that we're thinking things, the way that we're processing information. Is it connected to truth? Is it connected to a belief, right, that we came to when we were 5 years old, or maybe when we had a traumatic experience at 20, at 30, or at 40, right? Anything that has been traumatic, which, remember, my friend, trauma is what happens inside, not what actually happens to you. It's actually what happens internally. That's the trauma, okay? So these things that could be coming up during this time is like, oh, okay, especially around those areas of like social energy, connections, relationships, processing information. All right. The other one I wanted to point out here is there's also going to be a conjunction later on this month on the 21st with Jupiter. So Jupiter and the sun are going to come together. Now, Jupiter is all about growth and expansion, right? And it has been in the emotional energy. It just moved last month into that emotional energy of Cancer. Now, Cancer wants us to not just think the feelings, but actually feel the feelings, right? It wants us to become the master of our emotions. And so it's going to bring this emotional energy in, this intuitive, right, feminine energy of allowing and receiving into play here. With the sun and Jupiter connected, first off, Jupiter is going to expand whatever it's connected to, right? Wherever it's at. And so there's generally here a good positive energy, optimistic like no other. Jupiter is our biggest optimist, right? We also have our relationships really growing and expanding here. We've got really good opportunities for that along with our relationships. But with that also comes the flip side, the shadow side, which are all those challenges maybe that we have in that emotional landscape, things that maybe we haven't processed, things that we've been like, oh yeah, I need to do that, or I'll get to that. I can't right now because I'm doing this thing and I've really got some good momentum, but later, right? Yeah. Cancer doesn't, no, it's going to bring things to light for you. So I want to give you that. It's going to be there too the first week of August. So we've got that last week or so of the month where things just might be coming to maybe a halt in some ways. And I'll tell you why when we get to our other planet that is going retrograde. All right, so let's move on to when does the sun move out of Gemini and into Cancer? We're going to see that happen on the 17th, my friend. So I'm going to go back here, July 17th. The sun will move into Cancer. So let me tell you a little bit about Cancer. If you've been following the channel or if you know a little bit about astrology, you know that Cancer is ruled by the moon. So every zodiac sign has a planet that it corresponds to. In particular, Cancer is connected to the moon. When we think about the moon, we're thinking about our emotional energy as well as our subconscious energy, the things that are kind of hidden or a little bit darker, not in the sense of Pluto or Scorpio energy, but more so of like a little bit hidden, right? We can't quite see it. So it's like, it's more flowy, it's more intuitive. It's that emotional frequency, energy, right? Energy is emotions. Energy is emotion, our energy in motion. Wow. My brain like wanted to flip that, which is very interesting. So emotions are energy in motion. So if we think about that energy, right, it's flowing, it's moving, right? It's moving the energy. And so that is what we see when we see Cancer. What we're bringing into play here is more depth in things, wanting to feel more safe, more secure. So whatever that is, whatever that landscape might be for you, right? Safety in your body, safety in your relationships, safety with money, safety in your business, safety as it relates to your soul purpose or your calling, right? The other one would be emotional honesty. Cancer rules over that emotional energy. So there's honesty that wants to come through. There's emotional energy that wants to come through. And my friend, emotions are not good or bad. They simply are. We put this meaning on them that they're bad or they're good, or we want certain ones and we don't want other ones. These are low vibration. These are high vibration. My friend, we are human. We experience them all, and we should. That is part of life. The mastery of emotion is being able to move through those, not get stuck in any one, right? But move through them, know how to work with them because they all have information. Okay. So some of the things here that we might see is some of the armor that we wear. Yeah, some of the masks that we wear, especially as it relates to our emotions or our own nurturing of self, because there's a lot of mothering energy here with Cancer. Those might start to come a little bit unraveled, or the armor might feel a little bit more heavy or like burdensome, or like, I can't wear this anymore, right? So things like, I'm fine, common phrase, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine, I'm fine. Yeah, that. And doing the thing that you maybe don't want to do, but you feel like you have to do it. Okay. Holding space for others when you're trying to hold space for yourself, right? All of these things that we normally do, and we're like, gonna do it. We talk ourselves into it, or we talk ourselves up to it, or we pat ourselves on the back saying like, I could do this. I got this, right? Strong one, right? I know you're a strong one. So am I. That can start to feel very exhausting and like you don't want to deal with that anymore. You don't want to have it. I can't do this anymore. All of those things. And it could come out in a number of ways, right? Again, that energy in motion, that emotional frequency. So I want you to pay attention to this because emotions could be high in all kinds of places, not just for you, right? Managing your own self is the number one thing we can do. But I want you to also pay attention because it's also happening out with everybody else. All the other people that you're connected to, they're all going through this too, right? Grief can also show up here, things that we haven't resolved or we haven't allowed ourselves to grieve. It can come up as irritability, like that frustration with things. It can come out as withdrawing, like I'm just going to close the door and not talk to anybody. I'm just going to shut down. I'm going to ignore it all, right? I'm not going to answer the 16 messages that I have on my phone, right? I'm not going to do it. I'm just withdrawing from it all. Or I'm going to distract myself, right? Let me go do something else because I don't want to have to deal with that, right? And distracting ourselves can be done in a number of ways and can come into a number of addictions that we might have, like food being an addiction, social media being an addiction, right? Things to distract us from actually sitting with whatever emotion is coming up. My friend, 90 seconds. 90 seconds is all it takes for you to actually feel the peak of an emotion. The rest of it we sustain by our mind. So I want you to remember that if an emotion is coming up, let yourself feel it for the 90 seconds. Let your body do what it's naturally meant to do, and then it will subside as long as you, right, help yourself release it on the mental level. All right. Can softness, can ease, can peace, can relaxation be something that you lead with this season? That's what Cancer is here to help you see, to help you move through, okay? It wants you to do less. It doesn't want you to do more. It wants you to come from an overflowing cup, not one that is barely right. Yeah, to piece it together. No. So the action I'm going to invite you for Cancer season, if you so choose to be the sacred CEO of your life this season, one boundary, my friend, that protects your emotional energy. One boundary that protects your emotional energy. Maybe that's social media. Maybe that's a particular relationship. Maybe that's an activity, whatever that might be for you, my friend, even if it costs you something, because it probably will, right? It might cost you a relationship. It might cost you time, right? It's going to cost something. But my friend, your emotional energy is more important than anything. Okay, moving on to our new moon and full moon. So I'm going to share my screen again. If you have already taken something away from this video so far, let me know in the chat. Let me know down below in the comments if you're already taking something away from this video. I love to see when you comment in the chat. Okay, here we go. This is our new moon. Our new moon is going to take place on July 14th, and we're going to see this come in at 4:43 a.m. And that's Central Time because I'm in Central Time. We have just one beautiful thing here, and that is the conjunction with our retrograde Mercury, right? New moon in Gemini, conjunct our retrograde Mercury in Gemini. So a lot of what is coming forward with this particular new moon, some things that might be surfacing for you, right, is that we may want to start pulling out that journal, or we may want to have a conversation with somebody. We want to process, right, some information, and we want to have some honesty around this conversation, especially if we've been avoiding, right, avoiding doing that. Maybe it's the old conditioning, right? Maybe it's that feeling of not being productive enough, right? There also may be some old family or like maybe some younger woundings coming forward, especially as it relates to the social energy of around relationships. But it's also coming as we're about to bridge in, right, to Cancer season. So it's bringing some of that in as we're starting. So it's more of the communication of the thing than actually feeling the thing. Okay. So I want you to keep that in mind. With the new moon, it's more about communicating the thing than it is about feeling. So it's almost as if the communication is coming out, like, right? It's asking us to come out with this communication, to process, to express, to share. And even if that isn't just journaling to yourself, my friend, where then we're going to move that into Cancer season where it's going to actually, right? We're actually going to get to move through those feelings. So, some things that you can explore with this new moon is some things around your emotional life, right? Your family, your history, safety, security, right? Somebody trust. Who do you trust? What does trust look like? These are all really good things to explore with the new moon. And something that I'm going to invite you, an action I'm going to invite you to do with this new moon is to maybe even just write a one sentence commitment to yourself, right? That you say out loud. One commitment to yourself that you say out loud. This could be about a relationship. It could be about a parent, a friend, or even yourself, my friend. Something that you have been holding back that you're ready to actually share. Okay. Whatever that might be. It might just be, my friend, you and the mirror. It just be you and the mirror. All right. Let's move on to our full moon, which will come in on the 29th of July at about 9:36 a.m. So we'll see that full moon on the 28th up in our sky. If you like to go see the full moon, like me, you'll see that on the 28th. And you'll probably even still see it more or less on the 29th as well. Now, this full moon, as you can see, there is a lot going on with this one. Our full moon is connected to everybody and its mother. We've got Neptune, Chiron, Uranus, Jupiter, right? Because Jupiter is conjunct here with the sun. And then we've got the conjunction over here with Pluto. Lots of connections. It's like the moon and Pluto are hanging out, and Jupiter and the sun are hanging out, and they're like zooming, right? They're on the phone, they're connecting, they're sharing. And then Uranus, Chiron, and Neptune are like in the group chat, sharing some things. That is what this new moon, it's a very, very busy full moon. There's lots going on here. So Jupiter being all about that expansion energy, and especially around this idea of responsibility, of our tension, of needing to rest and needing to explore the emotions, but also having to contain them because the family's here or it's summer or the kids are around or whatever that might be, right? We're having to feel like I have to contain it and I can't actually openly express it, right? The conjunction with Pluto is asking for so much depth here that sometimes it can appear that we're managing things because we manage it so well because we've been doing it forever this way. And it feels right, but that managing well is coming up to the surface. It wants to shift the dynamic, right? It wants to especially shift the dynamic in relationships so that you are actually seen in these relationships, right? And I hear this a lot with moms. It's like we put our kids first, right? We put our kids in the forefront, that we don't necessarily take care of ourselves. And it's like switching that dynamic and understanding that I have to take care of myself so that I don't yell at my kids, right? So that I don't get upset at my mom for whatever she's doing with my kid, right? Like I have to manage me first. So it's shifting that dynamic and really being like, no, I'm here. Mom needs time. Mom needs herself. Because what is that also teaching, my friend? It's teaching them that they can take time for themselves as well. All right. So some of the things that I'm going to invite you into, maybe even taking a look at, is where is that breaking point for you? Where is that breaking point for you? Because I want you to know where it is so that you're not crossing it. Because oftentimes what will happen is we cross it and then we're like, oh crap, we just crossed it, right? I want you to look at like where am I overextending myself? Like, I know when I'm about to hit burnout because I can feel it in my body. And it's like, oh, Danny, you are about to hit burnout. So let's do some things to not be in burnout, right? And so I can feel it. I want you to know, where is that for you? Where is that breaking point for you? So you know, right? And it could come in things like the woundings, because we've got Chiron in here, of not being enough, not being safe, not being chosen. There's a lot of that. Maybe surfacing too, like, where is that breaking point for you? So something that I would invite you maybe to act upon or to decide for yourself is to, what is one commitment that you can make, right? To allow yourself to go within instead of expanding. Because sometimes we talk about this all the time. It's like, we want to expand and we want to expand, and like, we should always be expanding. And that's not true. Retrogrades are the first to tell us it's time to contract. It's time to take a pause and to go within. And so I want you to maybe consider that, right? Where is it that maybe I need to contract? Like, can I do that? Right? Can I allow myself to contract instead of expand? Because we sometimes have to take the step back before we can take the step forward. So that is what this full moon in particular is bringing forward for us. All right, let's talk about this retrograde because this baby is coming. So Mercury does go retrograde right here at the very beginning of our month. So let me pull this back. Let's bring Mercury to the forefront on the 30th. So June 30th, our beautiful Mercury moved into retrograde position in Cancer. We can see it right here. It's actually conjunct Jupiter. It's going to move away, and so it won't be conjunct, but probably these first couple of days, you're probably going to feel a whole lot of emotion that your body is trying to move and process, and you're probably trying to, like, no, 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 right now. Shh, right now. There's all these things happening, right? I'm in the middle of summer. We're about to celebrate 250th of America. That's a big milestone, right? There's a lot of things happening. I can't have all this emotion. And so my suggestion to you is to just let it all out. So whether that is having a conversation with somebody, whether that's journaling it out, whether it's doing some breath work, my friend, there is so much power. Every Monday, I am so blessed to sit down with our Sacred CEO members and just do a reset. And we do 90 seconds of breathing. And then we do about 90 seconds of holding our breath. And then about 90 seconds and we don't hold it for the full 90, just so you know. We hold it for as long as we can. And then another 90 seconds of an integrating breath and choosing what it is, the energy that we want for that week. And I can tell you, my friend, what is that? 5-6 minutes. It is so powerful in those 6 minutes to just shift your energy. It's so freaking powerful, and it's only 6 minutes, right? I absolutely believe in breath work. Even if you're just doing a few breaths, it can absolutely help reset your nervous system. My friend, if you're looking to reset your nervous system, just do some breathing, even if it's just for a few minutes. I do have our daily somatic awareness practice that is also a really good nervous system reset. That's down in our description down below in our show notes. So be sure to grab that if you haven't downloaded that already. It's such a good practice. It's something that I do every day, and I invite my clients into that probably pretty much every call that we have. All right, let's keep on keeping on with Mercury. So whenever Mercury goes retrograde, it is an opportunity for us to reevaluate, to it's like reintroduce, review, return to, right? It's this idea of taking a moment to pause, right? So when we're moving from Cancer to Gemini, it can almost feel like the emotional processing that we're starting to feel gets interrupted and pulled back into the mind, where conversations are, where information gathering, right? We go into information mode and it can feel like there's some unfinished business, right? So old conversations can resurface during a retrograde, especially this one, because we're talking about Gemini, right? And these aren't just like a random conversation that you just remember, like, oh, yeah, I remember the conversation. No, no, no. These are specific ones, especially around family, around home, emotional safety, or the things that never got said, the things that you either never got to say, or right, or you're realizing you should have said and you didn't, like those conversations. You might be revisiting something from the past that you thought was resolved, especially because we're talking about Gemini. It's around these conversations. This is why a lot of the times with retrograde and Gemini rules over that kind of communication energy, social energy, where Mercury rules over, right, the connection energy, the processing of information. This is why people will often have a lot of miscommunication during a retrograde, because there's a lot of information and a lot of the times we're revisiting things. And especially with this one being in that Gemini energy, a lot of conversation energy might be coming through. It was like, right, rethinking some of those things. So I want you to be aware of that for sure. Some of the other things that I'm going to say is review, repair, and reflect. So if some old conversation, old interaction, old friendship, right, is coming into play, review it. Why is this coming and why is it coming now? Is there something connected here that is tied to something that I'm working on now? I have been watching this show and I don't know when it aired. The energy of it, the costumes, right? They all feel like the early 2000s. And the show is called Being Erica. So if you've ever seen the show Being Erica, it's on Peacock, I think, is where I'm watching it right now. I'm on season 3 or something. And I love the show for a lot of different reasons. But the main reason is she revisits, right, experiences, and in the beginning, it's regrets that she had. Like, she makes a list of regrets, and she goes back and revisits them, and she's revisiting them to make a new decision, right? She regretted the thing that she did, and her therapist also always asks her, well, what would you do differently, right? And it's that moment of her being able to say, well, I wouldn't have done this or I wouldn't have done that, right? But then she actually gets to go back and see, does she actually do that and how does it affect it? Because whatever is happening in her life currently is definitely connected to that past thing. So whenever this is coming up, I want you to review it. Like, why is this thing coming up now? Why am I remembering this conversation? Am I remembering this relationship? Why is this coming back up? Number 2, is there any type of like reflection that you need to do or repair that you need to do for yourself? So I often think about, do I need to repair something in this relationship, in this conversation, something within me? And on the flip side of that, is there some reflection that I need to do in how maybe I might want to change in the way in which something that I'm doing? So definitely something, every single retrograde has its own little flair, but this one is definitely around communication, processing information, relationships, that social energy. All right, let's take a look at the next one, which I want to look at is Venus. Now, I will say this, Mars does have some interactions that it's going to be having with Neptune, with Saturn as well. It's still in that sextile with Saturn and a little bit with Venus. But I really want to talk about Venus because Venus is transitioning out of Cancer. So I'm going to share my screen and we're going to talk about this one before we get to our final thing, which is going to be the other planet that is going retrograde this month. All right, let's talk about Venus because we do have that retrograde happening where we're reviewing things and reflecting and repairing. And Venus does have a lot of that relationship energy. So if we look here, Venus, she does begin this month, as we said, in Cancer, but she's going to move on July 4th. She will be moving into Leo. In Leo, Venus is much more expressive. She is bolder. She is like big and generous and vibrant. And a couple of things that can happen here. Now, I love when Venus is in Leo because it gives me that opportunity to be more bold, to be more authentic in my expression, in who I am, and just feel into the beauty of things, right? And allow myself to just explore that. There is also the shadow side of that, which is a lot of pressure, a lot of pressure to be confident, a lot of pressure, right, to bypass what I'm feeling and jump into things are great, things are going good, things are positive, right? Things are exciting. And I caught myself, which is really interesting. I caught myself yesterday. A friend asked me, like, oh, how are you doing today? And I said, oh, things are great, right? And then I was like, wait, hold on. No, things aren't great. I'm actually feeling nauseous. This full moon's affecting me. Like, I started saying all the things and I was like, oh, yeah, I'm not good. Right? And it's just because I was right away wanted to jump into like, "Oh, I'm fine, I'm good." Right? No, 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 I'm actually not good, right? My body's not feeling well. I'm actually tired. I haven't had sleep because this full moon, right? And yeah, I just have a lot going on in my head, right? There's a lot of thoughts going on. There's a lot of things. There's a little bit of stress, right? Like once I started to say it, I was like, "Oh yeah, those are all the things that are currently happening. It isn't fine. It isn't good." So something for us to look at is we want to step into that toxic positivity is everything's good because of I don't want to create anything bad, right? No, my friend, I want you to be honest with yourself, honest with others. That's Leo. Leo is a very heart-centered, right? It's that child, playful, curious energy. And so allow yourself to say, I want to say things are good, but they're actually, and things are for the most part great. There is a few things that I am challenged with right now, or I am struggling with this. Like, right? Being honest with yourself, or like, I am feeling a little overwhelmed, or I am feeling frustrated, right? Now, the other thing I would say, this Venus and Leo gives you the opportunity to look at, like, how are you expressing yourself, especially in relationships, right? How are you, your self expression, how you express you, that authenticity? Where are you with that, right? Are you wearing the mask that you think everybody thinks you should be or how you should be? Are you trying to be somebody, right, that you're not? Or are you being so much you and you're just like, "Well, just deal with it, people. Just deal with it because this is how I am," right? It's like I say that when people are like, "Oh, well, I'm a Cancer, so I'm emotional." Well, yeah, and the goal is to learn how to use those emotions, right? Not to just say, "Oh, I'm emotional, so you gotta deal with it." No, but being understanding of like, yeah, I have a lot of emotions because 'cause I'm learning how to master my emotions, right? The other thing I would invite you into is where do you desire to be seen, celebrated, or to even play? Where do you desire to be seen, celebrated, or even just to be playful, to play, right? I sometimes, in my daily intentions, my theme for the day is play, right? I just want play. I just want to have fun, right? I just want to be like lighthearted. Dude, sometimes things can get really hard and really serious, especially in the external world. But my world doesn't have to be that. I get to create it, right? So I want today to be fun. I want it to be playful, right? But where are you maybe resisting that or not allowing yourself to do that? Okay. And then my invitation for you with Venus and Leo is how can you celebrate or allow yourself to be seen this month without it being like you have to earn it, right? A lot of us grew up with that being of like we have to earn. If you want to be celebrated, you have to earn it. You have to do something. How can you just be celebrated for being you, being here, waking up at whatever time you woke up, eating the thing that you want to eat because it feels good? How can you celebrate you just as you are by not having to do anything? but just the unique beauty that you are. All right. This is Venus in Leo. I'm excited for this one. All right. Our final thing that I want to share with you today about July. And remember to, if you're not already following me on Instagram, is I do a Tuesday post that has our transits for the week. And that's a little bit more of like what's happening this week and what energy you want to pay attention to. But let's go ahead and take a look at our planet that is going retrograde and will be retrograde until the end of the month, my friend. I'm sorry, end of the year, which would be December. And that is the ever lovely and beautiful Daddy Saturn. Daddy Saturn is going retrograde on the 27th of July through December 10th. This is a period of review. With Saturn, it's review over building something new. So Saturn is the builder, right? He loves to build things, create the foundations for things. But during a retrograde, he's asking us to review those foundations, to review the things that we built, to review the things that our structures, right? And so it might feel, when Saturn goes retrograde, it might feel like a bit of a like brakes just got hit, right? Everything just stops or momentum starts to slow down. It might feel like there's not a lot of motivation. There's a loss of like some momentum energy that you've been having. So if you've been like great all month, then all of a sudden you're like, what the heck? Daddy Saturn. He is taking his break and he is pausing and he's asking you to do the same, right? So anything that you have maybe been building or been working on, there can be some anxiety around whether you're behind, doubt if it's the right decision, if you should be progressing on this, if this is the right thing, right? A lot of doubt, a lot of anxiety around this. So some of the things to explore during this period, because this is July through December, right? That's a good 5 months here for you to explore the structures that you have in your business, that you have in your life, that were built in alignment with where you're headed, alignment with your life purpose mastery. This is one of the pillars inside Sacred CEO is our life purpose mastery. It's our manual. It's our life manual. What is our direction, right? We write this thing called the life purpose statement, and it is in the 4 main areas of our life, and it is the direction, the thing that we are creating in those areas of our life, where we are headed. And are we building things right now in our life that are helping us towards that direction, right? I heard a conversation. I was at an event, and the person that was hosting the event, she said, are you building your business because it's the thing that you think you should be building, or is it the thing that you actually want to build? Like, do you love it? Do you love the business that you're building, or are you building yourself another job? Right? I left corporate. I don't want to go back to corporate. And that's what sometimes as we build businesses, if we are not looking at our GPS, right? Looking at what we're building, are we building the thing towards that or not? So my friend, that would be my invitation for you, is to look at what have you built, and have you built them from that place? Or is it built from fear, from urgency, or what you think you should have, or like should be doing, right? That kind of energy. I would invite you to do an audit, right? Especially in the 4 areas of your life, in what have you built and created so far this year. Saturn didn't come out of its retrograde until early this year. And so in the past 5 months or so, what have you built in those areas of your life? And those 4 areas are your health and vitality, your relationships and love, your business, career, and money, and your soul purpose and calling. What are the commitments that you've made, the systems, the structures that you've built in those 4 areas? Are they in alignment that are going to get you there, or do we need to tweak? This is the time to do it, right? This is the opportunity to not recreate, but to tweak, okay? One structure, one commitment, one responsibility. That would be the thing that I would invite you into action with this retrograde with Saturn is what is one structure, one commitment, one responsibility that you're really going to allow yourself to be honest about and assess over these next 5 months. All right. Rather than trying to defend why you're doing it, you have to defend why you're doing it. There's probably something in there for you, my friend. All right, my friend, that wraps us up for this video with our July Sidereal Astrology Forecast for 2026. I'd love to know, what are you excited about? What are you like, ooh, that's interesting, or I can't wait to explore that? Let me know down below in the comments. And be sure to download the daily reset. My friend, the daily somatic awareness reset is such a good practice to do every single day, to not only ground yourself, but to reset your energy and to really start connecting with your body, your emotions, and your mind. One of the most important things to do during Cancer season. All right, my friend, have a great rest of your day. And until next time, remember to keep shining your unique light.